Alright, one of the last items for us to cover is to look at using some of the reviewing tools, which can be quite helpful when you're wanting to compare documents with previous versions to see what changes have occurred. Especially important when you're working, say, in an organisation, or in your case probably working with maybe some friends on some assignments, and you're wanting to know what changes have maybe been going on. And we can get to these through using the review tool, or the review tab across the top here. So some of these you would have seen before, such as spelling and grammar, which is quite common. The thesaurus for working out different synonyms or different words that you can look at using. Word counts for working out the number of words that you've actually typed in, paragraphs, etc. Translating to different places, different languages, setting the proofing languages. If you've got a problem from not having the New Zealand language set, you can look at setting it using this method in here. Okay, often the US is selected by default, which is a bit of a problem because they spell things a bit weird. One of the tools that I like to use quite a lot is the use of commenting tools. Commenting tools can be quite nice when you're wanting to not change the structure of the document, but just maybe get some ideas on what you can do better. Teachers will often use this to give you some ideas after looking at your electronic version, and it will just provide little pop-up hints to some items within your area. So for instance, if I'm wanting to maybe provide a comment on what the reviewing tools is all about, I can add a comment, and I'll just put here, well, how to learn about the review tab. Okay, so use of reviewing tools. I've now added a comment, and you can see there's a new area that's popped up in grey. If I were to go to look at print, if I was to look at printing that, those comments will actually print out unless I tell it differently. So that can be quite useful when you're wanting to maybe proofread, or you've got some assignments that you're wanting to leave some of your initial ideas in, but you just wanting to maybe get a bit of a clarification on that from, say, teachers or some of your peers. So going back to the review tab, if you're wanting to maybe turn this comment section off, you can look at coming to this list here and say Final, Show Markup. You can go to the final option, it will actually turn it off, and it's no longer going to be printing out. Other options is that you can go back to the original document or original Show Markup. So quite similar in those regards there, but the original one will also discount some of these things I'm about to show you. Okay, so that's the use of a comment. If you've got a bunch of different comments throughout, okay, so sort options. Okay, I'm able to then look at going to previous comments or through all the different comments and just review them and seeing whether I like them or not, and if I don't like them I can look at deleting either one at a time or deleting all the comments if they're not appropriate, and you'll notice that the review pane has now turned off. The option that we're talking about here through the reviewing tools is also about tracking changes. Say you're wanting one of your friends to look at editing your document because maybe they're better at English than you, but you're a little bit unsure if they're going to get rid of some stuff that you think is quite important. One of the things you can do is actually turn on tracking of the changes they might need to look at making. I won't take you through the different options, but let's just turn the track changes option on, and we've now decided that we don't like this first sentence, and this first line, I'm going to look at taking it out by pushing the backspace key. Okay, rather than actually being deleted out, it's now put a line through it and made it red. If I was to go and show you the final document, that would then disappear. Okay, but while we're actually showing the markup or how we've actually structured it, we're now tracking the changes that have been made to this document. If I was to look at pushing tab keys, a little note will pop up saying that we've changed the formatting here. Okay, so we can decide to change our document around quite a lot, but still keep track of some of the changes that have occurred. So if we don't like them, we can decide to undo them further on down the track. We can look at what else can we look at doing here? We can look at chopping things around. So say we're wanting to move items from one location to another. You'll notice it's now gone green. This is where it used to be. It's got a double strike through, and this is where it's now currently located. So we might decide after giving this assignment to somebody to check over, we want to go through and just check out what they've actually gone and done. We can decide to accept or reject each of the changes that they've currently done. So let's go to the first change, which you can see. I don't like the way they've actually made that change, so I'm going to reject that change, and it will actually switch it back to its previous order. It then jumps down to this next option which it's got, which is deleting out this whole option, and if I put my mouse over the top of it, you can see that this particular author has decided to delete something. I can decide to accept this change, and it will be deleted out. Okay, jumps to the next one for us. Okay, so are we wanting to accept or reject? And we can go through and decide to accept or reject all of them, or we can decide to undo them if we're wanting to. So that's the track changes options, which you might find quite useful. Another option that we've got is we can turn on the reviewing pane, and this will allow us to see all the different changes in a single place. And then we can go through and also look at changing from here and accepting or rejecting from this particular pane that pops up. Okay. Another thing that we can do is if we decide to accept all of these changes, okay, and then we go to look at saving our document, but I was a bit unsure of whether I actually want to keep all of these changes or not, and I think, oh no, I've made a big mistake. I want to go back and check out my original document to see if I've made any massive mistakes. Provided that you've got a backup save somewhere, we can now look at doing something called compare. I'm now going to compare two versions of the same document using this little dialog box. I can look at the original document, which I will go look for now. In actual fact, I have got them round the other way around. So this is my original document, and the one I've been working on is called the original. So I'll just look at altering this round. Okay, so here is my original document that does not have any of the current changes that have been made into it. The revised document is the one that I'm currently working on, so I've actually called this original. It's not a very good name for us, and we're now wanting to look at showing these changes that have actually gone on. I can decide to ask for these things to be also highlighted or shown. If I bring the documents up there, it will then do a side-by-side comparison, telling me the difference between each document. Here's the document that I'm comparing, and here's the original document. So it will allow me to try and work through this to see are there things that I'm wanting to try and work through. So this is the document that I'm looking at, this is the original, and then lastly this is going to be the final one, which is kind of blending all those changes together. So you can see you've got quite a few options there, and it's to say I'm wanting to compare it, and I think no, I wanted to chop that out and change that. Okay, and I'm quite happy with that. Looking at this option here, this is achieved. It's towards the top. Under step 7. You'll notice that those changes that I have made, tools within the software, it's now actually taken all of those out because this is my original document. It's kind of like a master place for me to make these changes. So possibly getting towards the more advanced side of tools that you may need to look at coming across, but certainly the original ones of adding comments, tracking changes, and I guess if you're wanting to get to the next step and the next level, doing some of the comparisons of original and altered documents. So I hope you found some of these ideas useful, and let's look at putting them into place for our assessments and assignments.